So is it healthy to get back with a former partner? Have you ever got back with a former partner?
No. In fact, I did.
Move on.
Yeah. No. In fact, some years ago, I did have a former boyfriend get in touch with me, and not to get back together, to meet up, and then he didn't show up, which was a bit disappointing. But it was all right. I was happily married anyway, so it didn't really matter. But I think
what were you doing going on the date?
But just to say hi, just to see what he looked like, basically. But the thing is that apparently, according to a study done at the University of Oklahoma, 62% of married people keep in contact with at least one former partner. It's like having a spare, just in case it doesn't work out. But I mean, I don't know. I'm sure. Do you remember that thing, Friends Reunited, that was all the rage? Now we have Tinder and everything else, Bumble and all this sort of thing. But, not that I have that. But the Friends Reunited, as many stories that were a success, some of it was doomed to failure, because you have these relationships, they're in a little vacuum of time, aren't they? Yeah. And they're what you were like at that time, at 17, 18, 19, 20. And years later, it can't be the same. I have to say, I think the Benefer, as they're called, that's J-Lo and Ben Affleck, Benefer. I think the idea of them recreating the photo from whatever 16, 17 years ago is a bit cheesy, to be honest. It's all right if you look like J-Lo and Ben Affleck, but maybe for some of us that's not going to work.
Well, I'm pleased to say we're now joined by behavioural psychologist and relationship expert Jo Hemmings. So you've heard us chattering away in the studio. I don't know if you've got anything to add there, but look, is it time to move on? Can it ever work going back to an ex?
It can work. Look, if you imagine all relationships are either right person, wrong time, wrong person, right time, and then you've got the daddy of them all. You've got right person, right time, and they'll tend to stick together. So we're looking here, I think, really at the right person, but at the wrong time. So we've had, people have had a lot of time during this pandemic to think about themselves, become more self-aware, to know what they want, and there is that possibility. People are creating that possibility of someone that they were with who was the right person, but at the wrong time. But if circumstances were different, and they're certainly different now, would it be possible to reconnect with that person? So I know that, as you say, there are relationship counsellors who will be saying, be careful. I would also say, be careful. But I would also say that if there is any time that's possible, it probably is now, because we're much more self-aware. We've had more time on our hands to think about things, to ponder what went wrong, why it went wrong. Yeah, it's very possible if you're both on the same page and you want it for the same reasons. That's really key to get back together with an ex. Yeah.
So if you, as you say, you're different people now, if you're wanting different things, it could work. It could be, because we hear during the pandemic, because people couldn't go out, you couldn't meet new people. So I guess you are reminiscing on past relationships if you can't have one. And what was it, 15% of singles text an ex to, just have some form of friendship. It doesn't mean it's going to work when lockdown lifts.
They're the wrong reasons. I think if you've just been lonely and felt isolated and uncertain during the last year and a half, and you think, oh, yeah, it's memories, that person meant so much to me back then, and I feel they would prop me up emotionally, then that isn't the right reason. That's the wrong way to go. But if you actually feel, do you know what, we could sit down, we could talk together, find out what our expectations are now. Where did it go wrong? Own errors that you may have made, mistakes, and talk about it. Then it could be that right person who was at the wrong time does become the right person at the right time. And there's some real success stories of when that does happen. But you've got to want it for the right reasons, and you've got to know that you're thinking about the same future, the same goals in life. It's not just that one misses the other and, great sex, but there's no emotional contact anymore. And you've got to both feel the same thing at the same time, really.
So Jo, what do you think that Benefer are feeling at this time, as they sort of very loved up? There's a very public display going on. Obviously, it was Jennifer Lopez's 52nd birthday. It's nice to see actually Ben Affleck actually going out with a woman close to his age in recent times. But there we go, that's another story. But what are you reading into this, if you can read anything at all into these public displays and their relationship?
a little bit off-putting because they are a bit cheesy, aren't they? I mean, they didn't need to do that, but perhaps they are doing that to please their fans who think, wow, they really are back together. Look, they've recreated this moment. I wish them well. If they have genuinely found that they were the right person for each other, but at the wrong time, or life got in the way and they've given it some serious consideration, and they want to be back together, then why not? I would wish them every success in the world.
It's not a cynical sort of jump-starting of a career.
But, sorry, say that again.
It's not a cynical jump-starting of a career to steal the headlines, get your photographs everywhere.
Well, it might be, Esther, but do they need that? Do they actually need to kickstart their careers? I mean, they're doing pretty well. They didn't really need each other to do it. I'd like to have a more romantic view of this and think that it's rather more genuine than some sort of PR exercise.
You see, but if you looked at the body language, I mean, would you look at it and say, yes, they seem incredibly relaxed, they do seem as if they're comfortable with each other, maybe the pressures and demands of work and maybe having or not having children, all of that's moved on. Now that, maybe, J-Lo feels she can be her own person and not have those pressures. What is it you think that will have changed in those 17 years?
Look, they've both had pretty stellar careers. They've been very successful. I suspect what drove them apart was temptation, was the fact they were never in the same place at the same time. They just didn't have enough quality time together. That has depleted now a bit in terms of their careers, in terms of what it's been possible to do. And perhaps they now feel that they can give it the time and the thought and the care that they didn't before. I mean, in terms of body language, when I look at that image, it's a posed image. It's not telling me very much. But clearly it's real. They're not sort of faking what's actually happening. I think more idea of what's going on behind closed doors with them or how long this is going to last will be a much greater indicator. But yeah, I'm sure when you have, a lot of celebrity relationships break up because you cannot be with your partner often enough or see them often enough because you're both busy working in different countries or different parts of the world, in different roles. And that quality time together is so important that maybe they feel that this is their time.
So, Jo, the other big celebrity pairing that the public often want to see reunite is Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt. Now, you tweeted something, I think, mentioning them this morning. Is there anything about the Jen and Brad story compared to the Ben and J-Lo story that you can make, you've got some advice on?
I suppose I've got a real sort of warmth of feeling for both of them. I wanted them to work so badly. I think a lot of people do. We've got a lot of affection for both of them and sort of felt what was going on, that they were together, they were not together, they were together, they were not together. I think of all the celebrity couples, they're the ones we're sort of willing on and would all feel this great sense of achievement if they actually finally got back together, because we never could quite work out what it was they didn't, love enough about each other or couldn't stay together with, because they just seemed like a great match and it was a match that you really want to see happen again.
We were living the love affair for them. Jo, I asked Caroline, and I'm more than happy to say it myself, have you ever got back with anybody else? Have you ever got back in a relationship?
Yes, I have, actually. And actually for that period of time, it did work. And it did work, yeah.
We see, this is the positive end we need, Jo. That is perfect. So it would work. Me personally, I think I've got back with people, but usually it's ended quick. If it lasted 2 years first time, it was like 6 months the next time because you remember everything you didn't like about the person. But Jo, you have filled me with happiness that you can get back with somebody and it can work. Thanks very much indeed.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.